Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with stories trending around the world is OjyOkpe on this beautiful Monday morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you
Good
this morning?
morning.
Looking
I'm
dapper,
fine.
goodness. Good morning,
Good
Ayo.
morning,
How are you this morning?
lady in white.
Thank you. You look
look
stunning.
good.
My lady in pink. This is not fuchsia, right?
No. I think this is like bright
That's
pink.
Dr. Abati's favorite color. Well, all right. Well, I hope you guys had a great weekend. Good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with some good news from Kwara State, where 38 worshippers in Eruku, town Ekiti local government area of the state, who were recently abducted, have regained their freedom. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak announced their release on Sunday, crediting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's hands-on approach for securing their freedom. The governor thanked the Office of the National Security Advisor, the Department of State Services, the Nigerian Army, Nigeria Intelligence Agency, and the Nigeria Police, which deployed 4 new tactical teams to Kwara State on presidential directive to secure their release. Well, here is the moment the victims regained their freedom.
These are for treatment. Let me give you from my heart. Give you for treatment. People that carry them come back. That will not be our prayer. And we'll be here till they come back. All of us will celebrate. Nobody will die. Yeah? So I beg. So my mama.
Such good news. This is the kind of swift action Nigerians want to see from their leaders. Well, President Tinubu, in a post on X on Sunday, reiterated his commitment to securing the nation and also revealed that 51 out of the missing students of the Catholic school in Niger State have been recovered. His post reads, "My fellow Nigerians, you will recall that I cancelled my trip to the G20 summit in South Africa to enable me coordinate the security efforts at home. Thanks to the efforts of our security forces, over the last few days, all the 38 worshippers abducted in Eruku, Kwara State, have been rescued. I am equally happy that 51 out of the missing students of the Catholic school in Niger State have been recovered. I am closely monitoring the security situation nationwide and receiving continuous updates from the front line. Let me be clear, I will not relent. Every Nigerian in every state has the right to safety, and under my watch, we will secure this nation and protect our people." Well, reactions have trailed, and I'll take one from our favorite doctor who wrote, 51 students recovered, 38 worshippers rescued, yet no arrests. Not one terrorist arrested, not one terrorist killed, not one terrorist prosecuted, just a declaration of magical rescue and recovery of kidnapped humans from the hands of terrorists. That's all you need to know, that this government just pays money to terrorists to reduce its international shame and disgrace. A truly serious government will be making arrests, parading criminals, charging terrorists to court, and showing it is serious in the fight against insecurity. Vimba, I believe I heard you also mention this during the headline where you're asking, what happened? How come we're seeing these people being released, no arrests? That's what we've always been asking for. Meanwhile, a video making the rounds on social media showed the moment terrorists who allegedly orchestrated the kidnap of students dared security forces to rescue the victims from their den. In the video, one of the terrorists could be heard saying, "I greet you all, my fellow Muslims. I heard you are protesting. What is the protest for? Is it because of the students that were kidnapped? Since you know where they are, you can come get them." This is the level of brazen confidence that these criminals, show every time we see these sort of videos on TikTok, on social media. It shows that they have absolutely no fear of consequences and are openly mocking both the authorities and concerned citizens. Meanwhile, the Christian Association of Nigeria in Niger State confirmed that 50 pupils abducted from St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School escaped from captivity and returned home themselves. Can stated that the school has 430 pupils, with 141 pupils not taken during the attack. However, 236 pupils, 3 staff children, 14 secondary school students, and 12 members of staff remain in captivity, bringing the total number still held by the abductors to 253 people. 253 people still in captivity at this moment. First of all, kudos to the rescue efforts.
Yes.
Our Kwara people are home. I mean, you saw that video with the elderly woman who,
Yes.
Dr. Abati, during, when we first played that video, you said, look, you were shocked. A lot of people were shocked to see that even the elderly gets kidnapped in our country.
Wow. So all of it is just the brazenness and the audacity of the criminals in such a way that we now have to spend time almost appealing to bandits to release the people that have held in captivity without a show of force from the government. So on one hand, I'm glad you started off with the good news of the fact that, okay, this is what they have done. Since we've spoken, the 38 all parishioners in Eruku have been released. We see the rejoicing right there. But when we talk about the 51 students, the language is different. In some instances, they said that they were rescued. Others say that they escaped. Some people say that, but the CAN has come out to say that they came out by themselves. They escaped.
Yes.
The 51 students came out by themselves. So we cannot attribute that to efforts by security agencies because we still have 253 people still in captivity. There are a number of issues around this. And that's why I asked earlier on that, around safety. If we don't have arrests or we see a show of force whereby these bandits and criminals are apprehended and they face the full of the wrath of the law, it will just be a case of where next and when next.
Correct.
It means that we haven't yet dealt with the problems. We're just dealing with surface issues. And then we're releasing, headlines that would make people happy. But the real issue around the people behind it, whether those who are the ones abducting or the people financing the bandits, we have not seen any action done to them. Until we have that,
Yes.
Oji, we cannot celebrate completely.
Absolutely, I agree
Beyond
with
the release of these 253 people, until we have the fact that these criminal bandits or whatever the chain of command is arrested, unfortunately, we're not yet anywhere close to finding, peace when it comes to insecurity issues in Nigeria. And that's the call for the president this morning. We had Dr. Gumi earlier on dimension the extent of the problems, and even talking about how, unfortunately, the response is not anywhere near enough. The cosmetic response, as it describes it, is not what Nigerians are looking for. We want solutions. We don't want to be thinking of the next place where they're going to attack or have parents withdrawing their children from school. If that happens, it means they have won. It means insecurity has won. It means terrorism has won. It means banditry has won. And this government has not been able to secure the lives and properties of Nigeria. To end this, I'll just say, bring back home all 253, but beyond that, can we have arrests? Can we have convictions? Can we have people identify those who are behind these atrocities? That's what we want.
Perfect. Well said. 253 in Niger State and 24 our girls are still in captivity from Kebbi State. We still have our girls in captivity. Well, the United States President, Donald Trump's Fox radio interview in which he called Nigeria and the federal government a disgrace, while speaking on attacks targeting Christians in the country, sparked a wave of reactions on social media over the weekend. Trump spoke during Brian Kilmeade's show, threatening to withdraw aid from Nigeria, accusing the federal government authorities of being ineffective in protecting Christians. Let's take a listen.
Nigeria is a disgrace. The whole thing is a disgrace. They're killing people by the thousands. It's a genocide. And I'm really angry about it. We get a lot of subsidy to Nigeria. We're going to end up stopping. The government's done nothing. We're very ineffective. They're killing Christians at will. And, until I got involved in it 2 weeks ago, nobody even talked about it.
Well, Trump's comments generated diverse views, while some Nigerians on social media agree that the government has been ineffective in stopping the killings and kidnappings. Others viewed his comments as a disrespectful attack on our sovereignty, and I'll take some reactions. Eruku wrote on X, Nigeria is not a disgrace, and no president should ever say that about another country. If Trump has a problem with foreign leaders, he should address them and not the whole country, Jude wrote on X. Trump's remarks, however inflammatory, expose a painful contradiction Nigeria has lived with for far too long. A nation that calls itself a giant, yet repeatedly fails to protect its most vulnerable citizens. But his comments also demand scrutiny. When an American president labels another sovereign nation a disgrace, it reflects not only Nigeria's security failures, but also the geopolitical arrogance that often accompanies Western interventionist rhetoric. His threat of military action reveals a disturbing truth. When a state cannot guarantee the safety of its own people, it inadvertently invites external actors to question and potentially undermine its sovereignty. Through disgrace does not come from Trump's words. It comes from a government that has normalized suffering, politicized grief, and allowed insecurity to become the country's most predictable feature. Nigeria must make a choice: reclaim its dignity through decisive, humane governance, or continue outsourcing its moral accountability to foreign leaders who will not hesitate to weaponize its weakness. Meanwhile, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka over the weekend issued sharp criticism aimed at President Trump over his mission to intervene and wipe out Islamic terrorists in Nigeria, calling Trump a madman. Soyinka made the comments while speaking with journalists after a meeting with Governor Hyacinth Aliya in Benue State. Let's take a look.
It will be foolish of us to reject aid in resolving any problems, whether economic, cultural, religious. It will be stupid. If there's a possibility of allying with one another, we should take it. But because I'm ill or I have some difficulties, I will not accept aid from a madman. That's all I'm doing. And my definition of a madman, or woman for that matter, is one who, when he or she says, I'm helping you, is actually complicating your problems for you on so many levels. We know why he's talking. It's because why he's talking about Trump is because he doesn't want to criticize. I mean, how do you deal with Nigerians like that? So the problem is on so many levels, including especially the level of the citizens of this nation.
Well, Soyinka's comments come just a month after the United States revoked his visa and banned him from the country. The Nobel laureate has been a longtime critic of the Trump administration and has frequently criticized its policies on immigration and foreign intervention. Meanwhile, former presidential candidate Peter Obi is suggesting that he would have welcomed help from President Donald Trump to eliminate terrorists in Nigeria. Peter Obi made the comments while speaking at the 2025 Leadership Forum Conference at the University of Nigeria's Enugu campus over the weekend. Obi stated that it is not right to start debating when someone has offered you something that you have been looking for, adding that as president, a country's #1 priority should be security. Let's take a look before we come back for a discussion.
Please, it's not genocide. Please, it's not this. But to me, I'm not safe. Come and help. Somebody offered you something you've been looking for. It is not going to start debating. What is it? Oh yes, me and my wife are living. We are hungry. Somebody discovered, Peter Obi and his family can no longer eat. You are saying no. It's not true. And we ate in the morning, but the one of afternoon, collect the food first. What I'll do, I would have gone. Even today you declare me president, I can tell you, #1 priority is security of life and property.
All right, Dr. Abati, we've seen diverse views on Trump's intervention. That first soundbite I played from the Fox Radio of Trump calling Nigeria a disgrace was the #1 trend on social media over the weekend. And then we also heard from Professor Wole Soyinka, outrightly rejecting the idea of, military intervention in Nigeria. And we see Peter Obi here saying, if someone offers you help, collect it. do not debate. Your thoughts on the
Okay,
three
I
stories?
mean, there have been many views.
Yes.
Based on perception, based on affiliations, based on fears and anxieties and all of that. But President Trump, referring to Nigeria as a disgrace, that the country is a disgrace, wasn't that what he said originally?
Yes.
When he first said Nigeria will be returned to the list of country of particular concern.
Yeah.
Nigeria was so designated when he was president in his first term. And then when President Biden came there, President Biden removed Nigeria, from that designation. Now it's a redesignation. And on that occasion, he had made a point that Nigeria is a disgraced country. Mm-hmm. Well, the Nigerian government does not think that we are a disgraced country. He has repeated the same label, in the interview that you referred to, that this country is a disgrace. But we have had, congressional hearing of the African Committee of the U.S. Congress. Well, even if he says he's coming to Nigeria with guns and blazing, he will need the endorsement of Congress, the approval of Congress. And that's why he has to go through Congress, because he cannot deploy American troops without Congress endorsing. Otherwise, that would be an authorized act of aggression by the American government against Nigeria. Now, as for the suggestion by Mr. P2B, it is on record that the Nigerian government has said we are ready to cooperate with anybody who is offering help, whether it's the United States or it's any other country. That was one of the first points that the Tinubu administration made. And then following up by sending a delegation to the United States, a delegation that have queried its composition. There's only one Christian on that list, and it is led by an advisor, not by a minister. The ministers were just following. Some of the service chiefs that were there, they probably had no business with, but the emphasis was on security and defense,
right,
rather than also looking at the diplomatic side of it. Even the NIA was not part of that team. So, well, they've gone there. Eventually, when we raised the alarm here, that even our national security advisor cannot be talking to a first-time congressman, they found a way around it, and national security advisor Ribadu met with Pete Hegseth, because in diplomacy, equals talk to equals, which was why Ramaphosa says he's not going to hand over to a junior U.S. official at the end of the G20, and he snubbed the United States. Within protocol reasons, President Ramaphosa acted well. So when Mr. Peter Obi says cooperation, pause and reflect and all that, well, the Nigerian government is already going that line. Now, Professor Wole Soyinka has been very consistent in criticizing Donald Trump. He says he's even going to write Idi Amin Part 2, Trump, Idi Amin in America kind of play. And when Trump was there for his first time, he voluntarily, relinquished his green card because, it will appear that Professor Soyinka had seen what will happen under the Trump dispensation. And this time around, he has also not stopped criticizing him, either the visa policy or the plan to come and attack Nigeria. When he says he will not take help from a madman, there is a popular saying that even when your enemy offers you food, you don't take it.
You don't take it.
But that's his own perspective. And there are some Nigerians who are saying, oh, Trump should come. He should come and shoot everybody that is available.
Yes.
But the narrative has many dimensions.
Right.
Even in the U.S., Sarah Jacobs and some of the other Congress people who took part in the debate, some of them are saying Trump is reckless, and they are Americans.
Right.
Some of them are saying he has no powers to go and attack anybody in Nigeria. Right. But the residual point is the point made earlier about safety of everybody. And Nigeria has a responsibility. President Tinubu may be saying, well, we have rescued some people. No, it should not be on an episodic ad hoc basis.
No.
Because that's what Nigerian government does.
We want to see
when
arrest.
The government is under pressure, they say we have rescued 50 people. We have rescued 38 people in Eruku, Kwara State. nobody should be abducted.
This is it.
All of us should be safe.
Well said.
If
well
all
said.
of us are safe, you will not even have to be thinking of withdrawing policemen from VIPs because nobody will need VIP protection.
This is it.
Everybody will be safe.
This is it. I mean, I think one of the things that Peter Obi said in that video was the fact that, you know, the federal government, instead of debating whether there is a Christian genocide or not, should have just immediately accepted the collaboration. That the debate about whether there is a Christian genocide or not was quite unnecessary, which is one of the things that we've been talking about here. Meanwhile, a new video featuring Reverend Dachimo saying that he has been told to stop exposing the government over reports of a Christian genocide went viral over the weekend. Reverend Dachimo made the comments during a sermon, adding that he refuses to stay silent because the government's inaction has endangered Christians nationwide. He also condemned comments made by Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, who alleged on Facebook that a doctor told him empty coffins were being buried to fabricate claims of a Christian genocide. Let's take a look.
Somebody says, Reverend Dachimo, stop exposing the government, your own government, your country. I say, oh, so I'm now exposing my government, in which they are watching me right inside Asoro on social media. Then I say, what of me? That the same government expose us to Fulani killings by refusing to stop Fulani from killing us. They came out publicly and say there's no genocide on Christians. That is another exposed one. Sheikh Gumi, the son of late Gumi, that used to go and bargain with terrorists. He came out and said all the corpses that we buried is a lie, it's only coffin. I've named his name. He must appear in the International Criminal Court of the world to come and testify. I command the grave by the power of Jesus to release her anger, to hunt down Sheikh Gumi wherever he is. He will never know peace.
Well, Reverend Dachimo is clearly not backing down despite the pressure. The question is, who exactly told him to stop speaking out? Meanwhile, Pope Leo XIV has stated that both Christians and Muslims are being slaughtered nationwide. The Pope made the comments on Tuesday last week while responding to a question from the press about whether Christians are truly safe in Nigeria. The Pope responded that insecurity affects all people in Nigeria, while also linking it to economics and the control of land. Let's take a look.
I'll answer the first question. I think in Nigeria, in certain areas, there is certainly danger for Christians, but for all people, Christians and Muslims have been slaughtered. There's a question of terrorism. There's a question of that has to do a lot with economics, if you will, and control of the lands that they have. Unfortunately, many Christians have died, and I think it's very important to seek a way with the government, with all peoples, to promote authentic religious freedom, respect for all people.
Well, the Pope is essentially saying that both Christians and Muslims are being killed. The question now is, will this balanced perspective from the Vatican cool down the heated rhetoric about a Christian genocide in Nigeria? That question, Dr. Vimbai, over to you.
Goodness, it's a heavy question. And, we've been debating this issue for a while now. But I think one of the things that stands out to me is that, Oji, the world cannot even agree whether there's a genocide in Gaza. There are people who have reinforced it and taken it to the various international platforms, and then there are people who still dispute it. So my question is also around the term genocide, because we've gone into a very dangerous place in the world, in society, where the term genocide is trying to be depicted as something subjective, whereas it's an objective term. There's a definition for it. So I think we need to be careful about venturing into the space where we turn genocide into a subjective, oh, he said, she said. The truth of the matter is that there is evidence that there are mass targeted killings. And in the process of these killings, there are also communities, entire communities that are being affected that are not Christian. That's a fact on the ground. So whether it's a genocide, whether it's not a genocide, unfortunately, in this year, 2025, the entire world has gotten to a point where we cannot agree on what constitutes a genocide. That's number one. Number two, on Reverend Dachimo, very unfortunate. His Facebook page has also been taken down, and I believe his take on that, or they're saying that he's alleged of being somebody who is jeopardizing national security based off of the messages that he is transmitting through his Facebook page. And this is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because this is a democracy and people are allowed to speak freely. He has evidence. He doesn't just wake up in the morning and speak. He's not inciting.
Yeah,
He has videos that he shares. He documents. He backs all of his allegations with evidence. So I think it's very important for us not to enter into the realm of silencing people, of censorship, especially people who have their own truth that they are sharing. Having said that, do we want the narrative to cool down? Is it becoming too divisive? Is it becoming too polarizing? Absolutely. However, we're not going to do that by trying to put lipstick on the issues. The only way that we're going to do this is by tackling the issues head on. What are the issues? We've dissected them ad nauseum. Now even Pope Leo is adding his voice to say there are economic issues, there are land-related issues, and this is what we've been saying. We've been saying that from the time there was a drought, from the time climate change started impacting certain places, certain communities started migrating further south in search of arable land. Here in Nigeria, we even introduced the Ministry of Livestock. And the Ministry of Livestock was supposed to try and harness some of these activities around the herding of cows and so forth to be restricted. But I remember when the Ministry of Livestock was now inaugurated, they said that they would need a decade to be able to sanitize the movement of cattle and to be able to create ranches and so forth, which many people thought, so what was the essence of creating this ministry if they're going to tell us that it's going to take a decade to come up with issues, with solutions around cattle rearing and the herders and so forth. So there are so many moving pieces. Earlier in the morning, I also spoke about the fact that we need to also acknowledge the fact that globally, terrorism is migrating from the Middle East because they've taken out ISIS. They've taken out Al-Qaeda. These are groups that used to have over 80,000 fighters. They've been dwindled down to 1,000 fighters. They haven't given up. They've migrated to places like Africa, to the Sahel, to places like Nigeria because they are porous borders, because they feel that the states here have failed the people. So it's easy to indoctrinate young fighters. And this is the place that they feel that they can find rest. So the issues exist. There must be no censorship. There must be no silencing of voices. People must be allowed to express their truth. And the government, in essence, must just do its duty and do its responsibility. And that is the best way for us to be able to tone down the inflammatory rhetoric that is now becoming a little bit too common and consistent, is if people can feel respite. I don't think gagging people is really the way to resolve this current crisis.
I'd like your comment on Dachimo, but I'll take this before you come on that. Meanwhile, on Sunday, Pope Leo expressed deep sadness over the kidnapping of priests and students in Nigeria and Cameroon, appealing for their immediate release. The pontiff stated that his heart hurts, especially for the many abducted boys and girls and their grieving families. He urged competent authorities to take appropriate and timely decisions to ensure the hostages' release, while calling on the faithful to pray that churches and schools remain places of safety and hope. Now, the Pope's intervention adds another international pressure on Nigerian authorities to secure the country. Like I said earlier, there are 353 victims still in captivity in Niger State alone, and 24 girls still in captivity in Kebbi State. Ayo, your thoughts on, comments made by Reverend Dachimo, who, stated that he's been told to stop speaking, and the fact that he's angered by the federal government saying that there is no Christian genocide, and he also, condemned Sheikh Gumi's allegations or actually it wasn't Sheikh Gumi that stated it, it was a doctor, he said it on Facebook, that they were burying empty coffins. Your thoughts?
All right. Okay, so there's a saying that truth is bitter. in Nigeria, it almost seems like truth should not be accommodated, or there's a resistance, as it were, to truth. What Reverend Dachimo has been saying has been consistent. I have mentioned it a number of times that the reason why the voices won't be silent and why there's this cry around Christian genocide is that the government seems to be paying little or no attention, or at best ignoring the calls from Christians who are living in the middle belt of Nigeria, that's Jos, Plateau State, Benue State. This call was not only made post President Trump's tweet. A number of times, Christians have been calling out and speaking out as to how they have been attacked deliberately. They've been targeted. Churches have been burnt. There have been, mass graves being built with nothing being done. What the Trump tweet just did was amplify the voices of advocates who have been speaking for a very long time. I have said it that if only the government, in response to this, would even, as a show of fact that we are listening, open an inquiry, ask people to come and have an opportunity to really express themselves with the intention to deal with the problem and deal with it. At the end of the day, what people really want is peace. What people really want is a solution. What people really want is the opportunity to express their faith without the fear of any kind of attack or the other. And so what we expect for the government to do for Reverend Dachimo and his likes is, can we offer them protection?
Right.
Rather than asking for them to keep quiet, because we cannot bury truth. No matter how long it takes, it will definitely resurrect.
Right.
And it's what people have been speaking about for a very long time. And Reverend Dachimo is just echoing the voices of people who have spoken for years and years with nothing being done. Can this administration finally fix it?
Well said, Ayo. Meanwhile, the United States affirmed its commitment to partnering with Nigeria in the fight against terrorism following a high-level meeting between U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Nigeria's National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, who stressed the need for urgent Nigerian action to stop violence against Christians and combat the West African jihadist terrorist group. This is as the Director General of the Department of State Services, Adiola Ajayi, briefed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the country's heightened domestic security crisis, including the recent mass abductions of school children. Consequently, President Tinubu ordered immediate withdrawal and redeployment of police officers from VIP escorts to core community policing duties, with security requiring VIPs now directed to use the NSCDC. Meanwhile, amid the efforts, controversial cleric and bandit sympathizer Sheikh Gumi says that no government, including the United States, can completely eliminate terrorists. Let's take a look.
How these are sporadic cases. You can never, ever eliminate terror completely. In America recently, one Nigerian killed his father and injured his two sisters. Will I say America is not safe anymore? No. You have sporadic cases. So, but generally the picture is improving. And I think Nigeria should be patient. Things will get better.
Dr. Abati, you know, people are saying Sheikh Gumi is now a spokesperson for the government. But, you know, his rhetoric about whether or not no government can eliminate terrorists, he even compared the fact that there is gun violence in America. Obviously, that is, you know, considered terrorism in some form. But, I mean, your thoughts on all of the, you know, meetings that have been held so far, and, of course, what Sheikh Gumi just said.
Well, I mean, the intelligent point is that, look, when government is fighting terrorism, you are dealing with asymmetrical war. It's not that the enemy is wearing a uniform. It's not that the enemy has a particular location. So whether for the Nigerian government or for the American government or any other government, you know, an asymmetrical war requires a different kind of approach.
Yes.
A different kind of method. And that is why there is even a whole broad level of conversation about international cooperation. Because terrorism poses a threat to the whole of humanity. So there can be collaboration, but at the government level, there must also be something about what your government is doing. And that's why some Nigerians argue that, look, at the end of the day, it's the Nigerian government that will find the solution, because we're the ones that are directly affected.
No.
And the Nigerian government must be seen to be doing what it must do.
Yes.
Now President Tinubu says, we are ready to get help from anywhere, and we are committed. Everybody should be safe in Nigeria. That is the objective. It is also so stated in Section 14, Sub 2 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, there are many views about what is going on in Nigeria. Now, the National Security Advisor meeting with his opposite number, Pete Exet, and both countries saying they will work together.
They'll work together.
That's also very good optics. And both countries can talk, which was the point that Sarah Jacobs, was making, which was the point that some of the Congress people in the US were saying. You have to consult the Nigerian government and work together to deal with what is actually a global problem.
All
now,
right.
you cited the example of Bishop Reverend Dachimo. Now, Reverend Dachimo is a Christian leader. You cannot expect him, not to say, there is an issue with religious persecution. The problem is with the use of the expression Christian genocide. Now, the position of government is that even Muslims are being persecuted in this country. And that's why I say the bottom line is to make the environment secure. Bishop Anagbe, the Catholic Bishop of Makurdi, was at the congressional hearing in the US. He even painted a more, disturbing picture than Reverend Dachimo. So, as they say, he who feels it, knows it.
All right.
And if you ask Muslims to also tell about their experience, and we have been on this issue since 2009, the Nigerian government is not able to solve the problem.
All right.
Now that it is on the table, it is for the Nigerian government to realize that what President Tinubu was saying yesterday should not stop at the level of rhetoric.
All right. And meanwhile,
government must do its job.
Right.
In the best interest
we have said
of the
government
people.
must do its job like maybe 50 times already.
Well, we'll say it again
We'll keep
tomorrow.
saying it every day, every minute. We'll take the story now under entertainment. The newly released, we'll tie this all together, the newly released Nollywood trailer, The Herd, has sparked a wave of reactions on social media, with some accusing it of incorrectly portraying Fulani herders as terrorists. The film, directed by Nollywood actor Daniel Etim Effiong, was released on Netflix on Friday, and it follows the story of a couple whose wedding day quickly takes a turn when their convoy is attacked by gunmen who turn out to be cattle herders. Some users on X, including former presidential aide Bashir Ahmed, criticized the Fulani portrayal as a negative stereotype and called out the Nigerian Film Corporation led by Ali Nuhu. Bashir Ahmed wrote, "I believe Ali Nuhu's Nigerian Film Corporation should have given proper guardians to prevent such damaging portrayals. In the end, all we are saying is simple. Tell the story, condemn the criminals, call out the terrorists, but do not cast a shadow of suspicion over millions of innocent herders who have nothing to do with these atrocities. Our country is dealing with a complex security challenge, and the last thing we need is media content that deepens stereotypes and fuels more division. The producers should have known better." I mean, this is such a complex story. I mean, your quick thoughts, because we wouldn't take good news. This is such a detailed story.
For me, two things come to mind. The first is that just in the same way Reverend Dachimo has the freedom to express himself in the way he wants, as long as it's within the realms of the law, Daniel Etim Effiong has a creative license to create whatever movie he wants to create. However, what is sad is the fact that we've gone into this place where we're no longer excited about creating optimistic films about ourselves. We're kind of creating films, and I say this because there was no happy ending. If you watch Hollywood movies that depict sort of apocalyptic state of the United States, what happens at the end is that the United States Army comes and saves the day. In essence, the hero is always the United States Army who come to save the day. And in this, the final punchline that I got from it was that, if only you hadn't come back from America, this wouldn't have happened to you, which was a very sad reflection of, for me, I felt it was a reflection of self-hate.
All right. So I went to the premiere of the movie and I watched the movie, and I want to say well done to Daniel Etim Effiong for portraying a true Nigerian story. And oftentimes we talk about how art and media can mirror what is happening in, socio-political scene. And what he portrayed was the truth. I don't think we're in a time where we need to be, telling or covering the story. Like you often say, putting lipstick on a pig. Yes. It is time for us, whatever means to the media, to film, to music, until the government wakes up to its responsibility. I understand the sense of patriotism, but you cannot ask a director to tell lies in order to save face. Instead, let him use his platform as a political, as a tool for change. It wasn't, but it was a movie. It was a movie, but it was based on true accounts.
We cannot
I think Daniel did an excellent, yes. And I believe that
I've gotten so many
Bashir Ahmed's tweet was false because it does not portray what the movie was saying.
Well said.
It was not in any way trying to classify a particular religion or tribe.
That's why I said we couldn't do
very fair.
I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis. The directors have their creative license. Absolutely. I wish you had time to speak, but you don't. Absolutely. Well, thank you all. That's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.